NBC6 News Today at 6:30 starts with breaking news.
All eyes on South Florida as former President Donald Trump expected to surrender to federal agents. We have team coverage covering security measures in Miami. Thank you so much for waking up with us, South Florida, on this Tuesday morning. I'm Lorena Inclán.
And I'm Constance Jones. Yeah, a very busy day on tap for us here in South Florida, but we want to start things off with a look at the forecast and how the weather's going to be as you head out the door. NBC6's meteorologist Adam Berg here with a look at the forecast. Hey, Adam.
Quite the intro.
Yes.
Meteorologist Adam Berg. I feel like it was one of those boxing intros. People are going to want to box me today, though, when they go outside this afternoon. It's going to be
with the muggies.
Unpleasant. It's so humid, and with highs around 92. Those feels like temps are going to be above 100 in some spots.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness.
So take it easy, and you know it does get hotter from here, right? It's only June. Okay, so here are your headlines for today. It's humid for sure. Mostly rain-free to start, though. I'm trying to give you some good news out here as well. But those storms will be developing midday and into the afternoon. And yes, it will be a hot afternoon with highs around 92, the hottest of the year, 93. If we don't get it today, we'll probably get it at some point this week. All right, so sky's going to be brightening up here. Sunrise basically happening right now. Temperatures upper 70s in many areas, mid 70s if you're lucky like Kendall, and then 80 in Miami, 84 in Key West already. Now, despite the humidity, we're not looking at rain right now. We saw some earlier in portions of the upper Keys. That has faded. The most important takeaway, you see those red lines out of the south and southwest? That's a very hot wind direction for us. It's all about when things cloud over and when these storms hit. If they delay a little bit, today could be the hottest of the year. All right, there are those southwest winds. I do think the storms will fire up around midday at the earliest and then into the afternoon. You can see most of us dealing with the storms, maybe even half of us. And then once we go into the evening, a lot of these storms should be fading. So here are your numbers for today. We're going 92, hottest of the year at 93. With the humidity, though, it's going to feel more like 100. So take it easy out there. More on your hot look ahead next 7 days coming up next.
In just hours, history will unfold here in Miami. Former President Donald Trump expected to surrender to federal agents.
An indictment from the Department of Justice alleges the former president took classified government documents at the end of his presidency, hiding them away at his Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach.
The arraignment of former President Trump is historic in its political and legal implications. It also creates a security threat for the crowds that we're expecting today.
That's right. We have team coverage on this historic day from the federal courthouse. NBC6's Julia Bagg is tracking security measures in place.
But we start with NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delanian with more details on the security situation out there.
Good morning, Lorena and Constance. The good news is that my sources in Washington at the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI are not seeing any major credible security threats that even led them to write an intelligence bulletin. But private intelligence analysts are seeing evidence online that individual supporters of the former president have expressed a willingness to engage in violence. There are some extremists who say they plan protests here in Miami. But as you know, there's a massive security presence around this federal courthouse. And the Miami police have said that while they'll allow peaceful protests, they intend to make sure they deploy enough forces to prevent any kind of violence in the city today, guys.
All right, Ken, of course, we know the judge is prohibiting any cameras inside the courtroom, but can you break down what we can expect in court later today?
Yeah, so the first thing is that the former president is going to come here from where he spent the night at his club in Doral, and we're told that he's going to enter this courthouse through some kind of underground passageway. And there's really three things happening today: a surrender, a first appearance, and an arraignment, we understand. So essentially, he is surrendering to the federal marshals and the FBI, where he'll be processed like any other federal defendant, which involves being fingerprinted, having a mugshot taken. There may be some special arrangements made for him because he'll have Secret Service protection all the way through, and his Secret Service agents will be allowed to be armed inside this courthouse. Then he'll make an appearance in the courtroom with his co-defendant, Walt Nauta. And if the arraignment moves forward as we expect, he'll be asked to waive reading of the indictment, and then he'll be asked to enter a plea, which we expect to be not guilty. And then we'll learn what, if any, conditions the magistrate judge imposes on him. Of course, no one expects the former president to be detained, but it's possible a bond or bail could be set or other kinds of restrictions could be placed on him.
All right, Ken, thank you so much live for us in downtown Miami this morning.
Meanwhile, NBC6's Julia Bag continues our team coverage with more on how officials are upping their security. Julia.
Yeah, Lorena, just a few moments ago, we saw two officers from the Homeland Security Department passing by. They've been on patrol all morning long here outside the courthouse. You definitely get the sense of heightened security here. Miami police say they're ready, whether 5,000 or 50,000 people show up today.
We are working very closely with our federal, state, and local partners to make sure that we have a comprehensive approach, right, that is going to ensure that we maintain not only peace and order, like the mayor said, but that everyone has the right to express themselves and the First Amendment rights.
Dozens of state and federal law enforcement agencies are on site to secure the area. While city leaders did not reveal specific security plans, the Miami mayor compared today to handling George Floyd protests in 2020.
In that moment, in that particular case, we had a curfew that we implemented. We had a variety of different resources that we used that I thought were different than other cities in America, and they allowed us to de-escalate without creating incidents. And so I think we'll be able to use those tactics again.
We don't know the exact route Mr. Trump will take to court, but if he travels from Trump to Doral, commuters could likely see delays along 836 or the 112, depending on the police escort. The streets surrounding the courthouse between Northwest 3rd Street and 5th Streets in downtown Miami could be closed as well. Now, after his appearance here, Mr. Trump is expected to return to Miami International Airport to catch a flight back to New Jersey this evening. In the meantime, though, you're going to want some help getting around these traffic closures. And for that, we turn to my colleague, NBC6 traffic anchor, Kristen Sanchez. Kristen?
Yeah, Julia, and like you said, we don't know the exact route that former President Donald Trump will take to the court. But if he does travel from Trump to Doral, commuters will likely see delays along the 836 as well as the Airport Expressway. So these two major arteries right here, and that's depending on the police escort. Now, if they are around the area of Trump to Doral, that's where you're also going to see a lot of delays, especially if you live in that area or even in the area of Doral. You're going to want to avoid the main intersection, which is going to be Northwest 87th Avenue and Northwest 36th Street. Now, the streets surrounding the courthouse, that's going to be a tricky one because there's a lot of traffic as it is in downtown Miami. So Miami Avenue right around that area is going to be closed off. So after the hearing, you are going to expect to see more delays as Mr. Trump is expected to go to Miami International Airport to fly out. So in this whole area here, if you can avoid it, definitely I would recommend to do so.
All right, Kristen, thank you so much. Your time now is 6:37, and today marks the second time the twice impeached former president faces a judge on criminal charges. The former president is claiming the case is an attempt to interfere with his chances of winning the 2024 presidential election. This morning, his GOP challengers are weighing in.
I'm convinced that if he goes back to the White House, that the next 4 years will all be about him just settling scores.
If this indictment is true, if what it says is actually the case, President Trump was incredibly reckless with our national security.
This case is a serious case with serious allegations. But in America, you're still innocent until proven guilty.
Well, NBC News special coverage of former President Donald Trump's arraignment coming up later this afternoon right here on NBC6. We know that NBC will be providing a special report of the arraignment anchored by Lester Holt from Miami with Haley Jackson, and senior legal correspondent Laura Garrett will also be joining him. We also know that Kristen Welker, Todd, Gabe Gutierrez, Sam Brock, and a host of legal contributors will also be a part of all of that special coverage.
All right, and we're also following breaking news this morning out of Denver. Police in the area say that they're investigating a mass shooting with a total of 9 victims. They say that there 3 of them are in critical condition, while the others, including the suspected shooter in this case, are believed to have non-life-threatening injuries. Of course, this is all going on during those NBA final celebrations from last night. Although it is unclear if this case is related to those celebrations, we do know that the shooting happened near the arena, and we'll continue to update you on this developing story throughout the morning and afternoon.
All right, let's talk about the Miami Heat this morning. Yeah, we got to because we know the Miami Heat, they lost to the Denver Nuggets last night. They just seemed to be too much for the team, unfortunately. Miami would lead the game early on with 7 points on the Nuggets by halftime. The rest of the game left fans on the edge of their seats, the lead bouncing back and forth between both teams. But Nikola Jokic was unstoppable, putting the Nuggets up by 7 with less than 5 minutes to go in the game. Part of the reason why he was awarded the Bill Russell Trophy as the 2023 Finals MVP. Miami's last second shot there, we saw it fell short, the trophy slipping through their fingers, making the Denver Nuggets the first time NBA champs for their team.
Remember this team, forever, and years from now, we'll bump into some of these guys and we'll have this bond, even though we didn't get that final prize.
Also, check this out. Mayor Daniela Levine Cava gave a shout out to our Miami Heat, tweeting, "They inspire us on and off the court, showcasing their resilience in Miami-Dade County."
And she went on to congratulate the Heat, but ended her tweet with saying that today and always go Heat.
All right, turning now to our hopes to our other South Florida underdog team. It is the Panthers' turn to pounce back. They're now on thin ice, as they're facing possible elimination.
That's right. Tonight's game is the team's last shot to stay in the Stanley Cup Finals, keep those hopes alive, and hopefully this won't be their final game of the season. The Cats know what's ahead of them in Game 5. That's to win and stay alive for another game, or to lose and watch the season come to an end without that title in the championship round for the second time in franchise history.
I believe fully we've earned the right to play our best hockey. In a difficult situation, all we want to do is get this thing back here. That's our. It's not the series. It's not a game. It's just get this thing back home.
Get it back home. And of course, we're taking you to Las Vegas tonight with a live look at the Cats as they fight to stay alive in this Stanley Cup final. Go Cats.
All right, our time now, 6:41 on this Tuesday morning. Lots of parents are making it clear where they stand on the clear backpack policy in Broward County.
Yeah, it's a hot topic. The Broward School District hosted a town hall meeting Monday for parents and students to weigh in.
NBC6's Socha Hernandez has more with reaction from both sides of this debate. Good morning.
Good morning, Constance and Lorena. Well, if approved, the change would go into effect this August and apply only to students. Now, Broward Public School students in all grades, that's pre-K through 12, would only be allowed to carry clear backpacks, purses, and lunchbox on school campuses. Mesh or tinted clear bags with color won't do. And the only exception is a small pouch for personal hygiene products or food containers like a thermos. Parents and students making it clear where they stand at yesterday's town hall meeting at Plantation High. Some people are in favor of the idea, but many say the clear backpacks are an invasion of privacy that won't improve school safety.
This really is a question of student equity and access to education. What happens when one of these backpacks inevitably breaks? What if a student can't afford to rush ship a new backpack for the next day? What if do they carry all their supplies in their hands? Do they get marked down for not being prepared for class, or do they have to miss school altogether? We've tried this approach before in this district. Please research at that end.
I do ask for everyone to respect my opinion, but I do believe that wearing clear backpacks, it can be a right step to prevent all this type of event. I do believe that it's not going to stop all of this, but I do think it's a good step to start all this.
Students with non-compliant backpacks will be subject to search. A final decision is expected no later than late July. And if you want to include your say, you can do so actually today. The community is set to give feedback at the regular school board meeting this morning. I'm Xochitl Hernandez, live in the studio, NBC6 News.
All right, Xochitl, thank you. And new numbers show Florida continues to lead the nation with the most boating accidents. We are breaking out the report from last year's findings. Stay with us.